Hello! This is another episode of Top 5, and today we will talk about the luckiest people in history who were born not just with a silver spoon but in a real bulletproof vest. People who are favored by fate itself, or those who survived where it was almost impossible, and some of them managed to repeat such feats several times. People who, for inexplicable reasons, are always lucky, whether in gambling, business, or just in life in general. So, let's begin! The fifth place goes to a lucky loser, US resident Evelyn Adams, who won the lottery twice in 1985 and 1986. The total amount was $5,400,000. It would seem like such happiness, but as is often the case with financially illiterate people who suddenly come into a lot of money, Evelyn quickly ended up with nothing and today lives in a miserable trailer. Later she said, "Everyone wanted to get their hands on my money to lay their paws on it. I never said the word no, which I deeply regret." Evelyn lost the rest of her money on slot machines in Atlantic City. All of this happened due to sheer stupidity, the greed of relatives, and the inability to manage money. For similar reasons, many other lucky lottery winners often end up with nothing. In fourth place is Dexter. Another Dexter named Timothy is America's luckiest fool, a lucky country bumpkin to whom fortune has smiled all his life. Nature endowed him with business acumen, depriving him of any academic abilities. Dexter couldn't even spell his own name correctly. His acquaintances mocked him, giving him incorrect or unsuccessful business advice. But everything ultimately turned out for the best for Timothy. One merchant also decided to play a joke on Dexter, saying that the West Indies, where colonization was in full swing, needed warming pans, warm mittens, and Bibles. Timothy had no idea that it was very hot on these islands. But he took the advice and bought more than 40,000 warming pans, 40,000 pairs of mittens, 40,000 Bibles, and sent them there by ship. When his cargo arrived at the West Indies, a religious movement was taking place there, and his Bibles were bought with a 100% profit. Dexter was even luckier when Russian trading ships arrived at the ports of the West Indies and ordered their agents to immediately buy all the mittens to the last pair to resell them in Siberia. As for the warming pans, Timothy sold them as ladles to a growing molasses company. These remarkable deals brought Dexter a substantial fortune. Other merchants in the city envied Dexter's luck and decided to ruin him by persuading him to invest all his money in coal and then ship it to England, to the city of Newcastle. The inexperienced Dexter did not know that Newcastle is the center of England's coal mining industry, so he hired dozens of ships, filled them with soft coal from Virginia, and sent the cargo to England. But instead of becoming an international laughingstock, Dexter was incredibly lucky once again. Due to a prolonged miners' strike in Newcastle, the mines were not operating and there was a severe coal shortage. When Dexter's ships arrived, his coal was sold for a huge amount of money, making him twice as wealthy. In third place is the Guinness World Record holder for the longest fall without a parachute, Vesna Vulović, a flight attendant who defied the laws of gravity by surviving a terrorist attack on a plane at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Immediately after the explosion, the girl lost consciousness and did not witness her fall to the ground. Local residents arrived at the scene of the tragedy before the rescuers and provided her with first aid. In the disaster, Vesna Vulović suffered a fracture of the base of the skull, 3 vertebrae, both legs, and her pelvis. And for the first few days, she was in a coma. The treatment took a year and a half, during which the lower part of her body was paralyzed for 10 months. According to Vesna, she did not develop a fear of flying because she does not remember the moment of the disaster itself. 13 years after the plane crash, Vesna Vulovic's name was entered into the Guinness Book of Records. So who would say after this that girls are fragile creatures? The person who took second place in our ranking is simply invincible. A true favorite of fate, whose luck has become chronic. Meet Frane Selak, a music teacher from Croatia who survived a train crash, escaped from a burning car, endured several car accidents, and even fell out of an airplane. In January 1962, Selak was traveling by train when it suddenly derailed and plunged straight into an icy river. 17 passengers died, but Selak survived. A year later, during a flight from Zagreb, the plane's door was torn off, throwing Selak out. All 19 people flying with him perished, and he miraculously landed in a haystack. In 1966, he was on a bus that once again fell into a river. 4 people died. But Selak survived once more. In 1996, a powerful truck came towards his car. Selak swerved aside and the car plunged off a cliff. In the fall, by some miracle, Frayne jumped out of the car and grabbed onto a tree, watching as his car exploded after flying another 300 meters into the abyss. And in 2003, Frane Selak received compensation from fate in the form of a lottery win of $1 million. After the win, Selak stated, "I always knew that God was watching over me all these years." And in first place is a man whom even Chuck Norris would envy, as well as all action movie superheroes, the Japanese Tsutomu Yamaguchi, who survived 2 nuclear explosions. You heard right! In 1945, while working at a shipyard in Hiroshima, Yamaguchi was 3 kilometers from the epicenter of a nuclear explosion, resulting in severe burns. In a panic, escaping with other people, he took a train to Nagasaki, where upon arrival he was met with a warm welcome. I would even say a hot one, in the form of another atomic bomb explosion dropped by the Americans. But Yamaguchi somehow survived this explosion as well. Yamaguchi lived a long life full of terrifying events and memories, and also fought for the nuclear disarmament of all countries. Tsutomu Yamaguchi passed away on January 4th, 2010 at the age of 93. At the age of 93. That's how it is. Give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and in the next episode we will talk about the unluckiest people on the planet. In the meantime, check out the 2 previous videos, the top 5 expensive games and the top 5 largest technological disasters.